Well, I'm also really curious to know what Charity thinks about you. You did a little bit of work with her, and Charity's a body worker who's been doing massage and Thai yoga for multiple years. And I'm curious to know what Charity thinks about alignment just after getting one session or one experience with it.
Well, it was very, how can I say this? I just felt very open. It's very different than a lot of the body work that I've had in general, especially because he really focuses on the breath and the sound. Sound is something that is so different than any other body work that I've experienced. And I think it really helped to release many more layers through the sound. That was something that was just the most, I think, phenomenal part of it. That just really, it helped to release so much more.
Yeah.
It takes you back.
The sound, it's interesting because the sound, generally holding sound is only going to increase tension or hold the tension in. And using sound or making natural sound, so much tension is just generally tied up into your sound where you're limiting or keeping yourself still because you don't want to express
it's the
a loud, childish sound, you know.
Yeah. It's scary for a lot of people.
And you've been actually talked out of it, you might say.
Your entire life.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's wonderful when you hear a child in a shopping mall. You could be at the other end of the shopping mall and you can hear this little kid. I mean, that's how much volume is there. And then, of course, you might hear the mother screaming at him, just shut up.
On airplanes, too.
Since we're babies, we're always quieted, so it's actually not that healthy to be doing that.
Yes, so sound actually is a very important part of it. In fact, we have a video on. Do we have one on sound?
I think one can come out really soon.
We have one. No.
That's an integral part of the system. I think it's
very much.
Yeah, it needs.
Yeah. Okay.
So maybe you can explain it. Explain sound briefly.
Well, basically, you could say that holding sound is holding breath, and that instead of expressing, you hold still. So you're actually grabbing the sound from coming out. You're actually tightening a muscle, so to speak, over a period of time. And for the same way that I said about standing still, so people lock their leg, and they, over a period of time, it takes its toll, and the same with sound, so that people get more and more boxed or cloistered with their own sound, and that is a problem. So one of the elements when I work, if I do massage work, and actually breathing, I will coach people to make natural body sounds. Mm-hmm. And one of the natural body sounds people are familiar with is when they go to bed. They generally go, that's a good sound. That is nice.
Oh, definitely. I'm quite familiar.
Yeah.
Well,
so that in a way has breath in it, you say, because it is releasing what you could say is exhaustion.
Yeah.
It's exhausting. It's releasing the exhaust.
It's like a muffler on a car.
Yeah, from holding still. It's been holding all this stuff still, and it's, finally I can lay in bed.
Well, I know there's a lot of other body workers that have gone through your system, even chiropractors. And there's a lot of stories that you've told me and cases of people that I've personally professionally worked with that have had radical differences using your system. I personally really like the work that's done in the videos, and that's what I personally do most.
Yeah.
And I find it very easy to do. And I'm also curious about maybe you could tell us, like, what's your most memorable person for how alignment has had a positive impact? Like, all the 40 plus years that you've been doing this, is there like one or two people that stick out in your mind that have really, wow, I had no idea that alignment was really this powerful, and this is something amazing. And I know Jamie's probably one of them, but besides Jamie.
Well, yes, there was a man who I worked with, and it's in the testimonials on my page, who had compacted ankles. He was thrown in an accident. 100 feet, landed on his feet when he was 8 years old and compacted his ankles. And when I was working with him, he was in a class with Monica and I, he worked for a year and a half doing a lot of the releasing exercise and positions. And one day, and this is 50 years later, his foot popped. It popped out of the ankle, and all of a sudden he had length. And that week at home, the other foot did.
So you're telling me this guy had an injury that was like a 50-year-old injury.
Right.
And he works with alignment for a few weeks.
No, a year and a half.
He works with alignment for a year and a half.
It was once a week.
Once a week.
Okay.
For an injury that was 50 years old.
Right.
The body was compressed and compacted for 50 years. Yeah. In only a year and a half of him doing self-work once a week, and both ankles were able to pop out.
Yeah, that's what happened.
That's almost unheard of.
I know. And the other thing is, you mentioned Jamie, but I've done this with other people who've had back problems, and generally it's at most 4 sessions, 5 sessions. And then they start to be able to take care of their own body. I mean, that's the whole objective of the tapes, in fact, is for you to understand your own body and how to take care of it. And the instructions are very simple. It's not a rocket science,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I know before I met you, I was really into weightlifting and kind of bodybuilding, and I think that to me that was something that was really doing a lot more harm than good. Mm-hmm. And I remember after really learning alignment, learning the releases, like learning how to stand in alignment, I started really getting away from weights, and I started to just move my body, and people started asking me, "Oh, are you doing yoga?" And I guess I don't know. I mean, if this looks like yoga, then I guess it must be yoga.
Uh-huh.
But I work with it. I put together a system, and I've been to quite a few yoga classes where the word alignment might be tossed out, but what I learned here and what I apply is something that I've personally never heard anywhere else, and I've never been given instruction that would even be remotely similar. And this just feels so natural and so comfortable. I mean, it's for me personally, I used to have back problems on a regular basis, and they've completely cleared up. So, I'm supposing that there's been more instances of people who have applied this into athletics or other areas other than just like a fitness yoga class.